You're watching The Sports Objective, the podcast for Pirates.
That stadium is going to be rocking, and heaven help whoever walks in there to play us.
Sustained effort and violence, you play your ass off.
You're watching the Pirate Preview on The Sports Objective. Join us every Tuesday night on YouTube Live as we're joined by beat writers and other media members as we take a look at what lies ahead for the Pirates. Now, here are the guys.
It is a first down. Pirates.
Welcome into the Pirate Preview right here on the Sports Objective, TSO. Ladies and gentlemen, the meteorologist for TSO is Kyle Barber. How are you?
What's going on, Dave? I'm not a meteorologist. I'm not a meteorologist, but I play one on a podcast.
Sounds good to me. Ladies and gentlemen, from China Grove, North Carolina, Bubba Rosenbaum. B-Bomb.
What's going on, guys? Looking forward to talking about the Pirates. A huge game this week, and we'll take a look at this matchup between the Pirates and Bulls. It's actually taking place down in Boca Raton, about 230 miles or so to the southeast of Tampa, due to Hurricane Ian, approaching the Gulf side of Florida.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy, and obviously, Matt Semenza, we're going to have the game. We're going to have the Boca Bowl early. It'll be on actually Saturday afternoon at 2:30 for the Boca Bowl between the South Florida Bulls and the East Carolina Pirates, and we're looking forward to that on Saturday. No laughing matter as far as a hurricane, but just crazy how things work.
Yep, no doubt about it, guys. And my mindset this week for this game is anything less than a win would be uncivilized. There you go, Kyle.
I didn't know that's where you were going, but it sounded like you were doing an Old Spice commercial, so I finished it for you.
Hey,
that's exactly where I was going, buddy. You nailed it.
That you have to have chemistry with this team. I tell you what, guys. I by the way, Matt, before I forget, I'm going to bet you your favorite 6-pack of beer that Donnie K opens up the playbook this week. What do you think? You gonna take that bet?
Well, I don't. You know what? I agree with you. He needs to open it up for sure. I'm sure he's heard the criticism this week, guys. I mean, coaches, they can say they shield that stuff out, but they hear it, and it's there for the taking. We have the weapons. We have a 5th-year quarterback. Let's go ahead and open it up and and get this thing moving in the right direction.
Yeah, what's going to be interesting to me this week, obviously we got to control what we can control, but from South Florida standpoint, to me, from a what's the word I'm looking for? The intangible standpoint. When you're facing something like what's going on right now in Tampa and the state of Florida in general with the hurricane, it can either really motivate you or it can be a distraction. So I expect them to play really well or really bad. I don't expect much in between. And I'm unfortunately, I hate to say it, I'm hoping for them it's a distraction and they don't play well. But we'll see. We need to play our best game regardless. That way, if they play their best game, we get the win anyway.
Yeah, you look at Tulane last season. Tulane had their season opener moved to Norman. They had Oklahoma coming to Yulman Stadium, but that game obviously had to be moved to Norman, like I said, and they nearly pulled off the miraculous comeback in that one in the second half. But I think, as Corey Glore said, being uprooted and having to move their entire operations to Birmingham, that certainly had its toll or took its toll on the team.
Yeah, we had our experience in '99 with Floyd, and sometimes I think also how good is your football team? We were a really good football team in '99, And so, we kind of used it as motivation and kind of rode the wave. South Florida to this point has, with the exception of playing well against Florida, has been pretty bad. BYU destroyed them. Louisville destroyed them. They beat their FCS opponent, and we're competitive with Florida. We are a much better football team than them. Like I said, the intangibles to me this week are incredibly interested. And what kind of crowd's going to be there? What kind of crowd's going to be there at FAU? I'm sure there's a lot of South Florida alums because it's got a huge enrollment. I'm sure there's a lot of South Florida alums that maybe live in that Miami, Boca Raton, true South Florida area that maybe don't get a chance to head to West Central Florida, where South Florida is located, to watch the Bulls play much. So they'll get a chance maybe to come to the game this weekend at FAU. But I'd be surprised if there's more than 5,000 people in there.
Yeah, and I know Coach Houston, Bubba, talked about that, the very fact that because of COVID, they're used to playing in stadiums 2 years ago without fans. So that's pretty much what it's going to be. What was it? At one point, they let 2 years ago, 3,000 fans?
Whatever 7% capacity of 50,000 would be.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. But anyway, now, Bubba, with the game moved to 2:30 on Saturday afternoon.
Do we know why it was moved up to 2:30?
That's what I was going to ask you guys. Do you guys know why?
I have not heard anything as far as the game time's concerned.
Yeah,
as far as why the change, what it was supposed to be 7.
Correct, and I don't know. A lot of games are being moved around. I would understand it because the games being moved around if it was picked up for television, but as we sit here today, it hasn't been picked up for TV. It's still ESPN Plus. I don't know. It could have been a situation where maybe for broadcasting reasons, whoever the announcers are for ESPN Plus, I don't know. That's a really good question as to why it's at 2:30 versus 7. Why moving it to Boca changed the kickoff time? Because that didn't make a lot of sense to me.
I'm guessing, guys, it's to accommodate FAU and their stadium employees, their stadium workers, perhaps.
Maybe.
That's my best guess. But I'll tell you guys, I love the time. I like the earlier game. Kind of get it in, and then hopefully we get a W, and then we can kind of relax for the rest of the Saturday night.
I hate that. That's my least favorite start time. I either like from a college football standpoint, from a fan of watching college football, I like a 12 o'clock game or a night game, because a 3:30 game, or in this case a 2:30 game, you miss all the endings of all the early games and you miss the beginning of all the late afternoon games. So I always hate the 3:30, and I don't ever remember having a 2:30 kickoff. I'm sure we have at some point, but this my least favorite time is a mid-afternoon kickoff. Either give me an early or a late.
Yeah, no doubt. I would prefer. I would definitely prefer. I'm a nighttime guy, except for obviously I understand it's television and all that. But the noon games, especially in September in Greenville, North Carolina, are as Matt would say, brutal. And when it's 95 degrees, I feel like the last week, I felt like last Saturday with the Navy game, it was perfect. The only thing that was not good was the outcome. But I really loved one of my good friends and his son went with me. We had a great time. We got a chance to go up in the press box, Kyle's favorite area of the stadium, and then we had the tailgate some. So it was everything was good except for the outcome. So the weather was absolutely gorgeous and perfect for a football game.
Yeah, you got a little fall weather, and you're right. As far as early September games in Greenville are brutal. I'm just saying, from a standpoint of watching
I
the
understand
game,
it.
12 o'clock is good because then you get the rest of the game. It is what it is. Look, bottom line is, if we beat South Florida, we can play the damn game at 2 o'clock in the morning for all I care. Just go win the football game.
Yeah, that's what this is all about for me, guys. This week for me is, I don't want to hear any more talk. I don't want to hear about the direction of the program. I don't want to hear about all the weapons we have. I want to see it. I want to see a win. It's kind of at that stage for me. now. I get like this once or twice a year, every year. So this is nothing new for me, but I'm kind of right now, the way my mind is, I want to see it happen on the field. I want to see a commanding win because, like you said, Kyle, I mean, I think we are the superior team this weekend. We need to show it.
Yeah, and even if we don't go out there and dominate, just get the W. I like I said, it's going to be interesting to see what South Florida does. Are they distracted? Do they play like crap, or do they put up one of their better performances of the year, and it's going to be a 4-quarter game? I don't know. The line is kind of going in our favor. Last I saw, I think it was up to 9.5. So the people are putting their money on the Pirates, but we saw really what that didn't mean too much last week.
Well, that's the thing is, I think I was talking to Matt about this. I think that they thought that they were getting the team that has, as Matt was talking about, a lot of weapons. They're going to be throwing around the yard, running. We're going to have that, and that we were far superior to Navy, and they didn't get that. They didn't get that team as far as the play calling is concerned. So that's why I believe the Vegas is very smart.
I think, well, Dave, I think in hindsight, what happened, and it's kind of what you're saying, and it almost did happen. I think Coach Houston thought the defense was going to have a dominant performance, and they basically did, except giving up some big plays. And I think he thought that we could run the ball on them, play ball control, keep the ball out of their hands,
right?
Give our defense even more time to rest. And I think he thought, we were going to win like a 21-3 type ball game. And it almost worked, but it became a point in that game where we showed it was obvious we needed to be more aggressive on offense, and we didn't adjust the game plan. If you really look back at everything in that game and you take all things into consideration, and you don't want to pick on this kid because it's the only time he's really fumbled. If it wasn't for that Harris fumble, everything else would have probably went according to the game plan. If you take that one play out of the ball game, we win that game in regulation and overtime and missed field goals and Holton Eller's turning the ball over and all that really doesn't come into play. That fumble that gave them a touchdown on the short field in the fourth quarter is probably the difference in the ball game. Really, if you take that one play away, we win a low scoring ball game.
Yeah, that's really tough. Anyway, we have to move on. Bubba, I know you've done a lot of research on USF, and want to give you the floor to talk about.
Well, actually, before we move on to that, since the topic came up as far as some of the things concerning the Navy game and so forth, particularly offensively, we heard about the unique looks and different looks than what we had necessarily expected as far as Navy coming off the open date. But at times in the end of half situations, be it the first or the end of the game, I would like to see a little bit greater sense of urgency. And in a situation like that, and Matt can talk more about this. When a team decides to employ more tempo, then that really affects you defensively, not as much as it once did, because especially if you're substituting. But as long as you're keeping the same guys on the field where the defense doesn't have that chance to sub, when you go fast, it forces you to be a little more simple defensively. And with Navy's approach to things, I think that's something I would have liked to have seen.
Yeah, I just to comment on that, Bubba. I mean, I think that's a great point, and that's something that we really haven't seen that much of this year, and it's definitely and it doesn't have to be every possession, but it can be 2 or 3 times a game where you come out and you go up tempo on somebody. I love it coming right out of halftime, guys. First possession of the second half, come out up tempo and really get after somebody. So, it doesn't have to be every possession, but if you can break it out 2 or 3 times a game and you can really, throw somebody off with that.
Exactly, and like you're saying, do it in addition to doing it when you need to, like that in the end of the half situation, where you can potentially score a touchdown or at the very least get Owen Daffer and the PAT field goal team as close as you possibly can. Do it early in the game or early in the second half, to just as a change up to the opposition.
Yeah, no, I agree with both of y'all. Need to see more tempo at times, and it's not as special as it used to be because so many people do it, but we haven't done it a lot, and probably should do it more. We've got the pieces to do it, so why not utilize it? Anyway, we need to move on to South Florida. That's the opponent this week. Navy game's behind us. I mean, for Christ's and heaven's sake. What did the Bulls, Bubba, present as a challenge that you've seen? Obviously, they got the quarterback transfer from Baylor. He's impressive on paper, or excuse me, on film, but hasn't done much so far for the Bulls up to this point.
Yeah, taking a look at Gary Bohannon, like you mentioned, came over from Baylor, 6'3", 225 pounds. And you take a look at Gary and his performance last year. Obviously, Baylor had a tremendous year. Went to the Sugar Bowl, and what I believe they beat Ole Miss, right? Or either that or they lost at the very end. But they had a heck of a season under Coach Aranda, but Coach Aranda was honest with where Gary stood going into 2022, and so he elected to enter the transfer portal because despite their success last year, they were going to go in a different direction behind center. So he opted to head to Tampa. And when you take a look at him, I was watching some film earlier today, both from his time at Baylor as well as this year, and he's certainly more of a quarterback, a FBS quarterback than James Summers, but just with that size, he does remind me some of James Summers. I guess certainly the closest thing we've seen like him this year is Hajj Malik Williams from Campbell. But he's like I said, taller than Hajj Malik Williams, I believe, at 6'3", and so he's a dual threat guy. He has yet to throw a touchdown pass this year, which is the only team, or USF is the only team in the nation that has not thrown a touchdown pass. But last year for Baylor, his passing numbers were he was 173 out of 275, 63%, threw for 2,200 yards, 18 touchdowns, and 7 picks. So fairly solid numbers there. And this year, I do know against Louisville, he was missing his top receiver. And that top receiver is Xavier Weaver. He has 20 catches. He was also out against Florida. He played against Florida, but he was out against Louisville, and he's in question this week. I'm not sure whether he'll play against the Pirates or not. But in those 3 games against BYU, Howard, and Florida, he accumulated 20 catches for about 250 to 300 yards.
What's the injury, Bubba?
That's a good question. Not sure. We'll see if I can find out exactly what ails Xavier Weaver. But
because you can kind of decipher questionable based on the injury.
Right. Yeah.
And guys, not a single touchdown pass so far this season. That's a pretty incredible static right there.
Yeah, and I'm sure we've jinxed that. So good job.
No doubt. Kyle,
I try to do what I can do.
Because I was thinking that if they've had players injured this year, you can be sure they're going to be 100% ready to go this Saturday. So
maybe not. You're losing probably your ability. I know Florida Atlantic has facilities, but trainers have a lot to do with that, team doctors, etc. And I would think that would be affected more than anything with having to move operations from Tampa to Boca Raton. I could be wrong, but to me, it seems like maybe are kids going to get the proper therapy they need this week? Our trainers will be in position, team doctors to clear people if they're questionable. Obviously they have those things in Boca, but it's in UCF. USF, I'm sure traveled their team doctors, et cetera, to Boca, but it just seems like that might hinder things like that. I could be wrong.
Hey, and something else, guys, about Gary Bohannon, like Johnny Robertson mentioned, I had this noted here in the research I did this afternoon as well. But he was just talking about not only Weaver, but their next two top receivers are out, as well as their all AAC starting offensive tackle. All of them missed the Louisville game, and Coach Houston addressed that today, is saying it looks like they'll have at least some, if not all, of those guys back. We shall see. But as far as Gary Bohannon, no touchdowns, as we've already mentioned, but he's thrown 6 interceptions as well. So I think 2 against Florida, and despite them nearly winning that ball game in the Swamp, and also he threw 2 against Louisville, a game in which he only threw for something like 68 yards.
Gary Bohannon just sounds like that's a great name. It sounds like he would be a quarterback.
It's spelled like Jerry. It's Gerry, but it's pronounced Gary.
Yeah, I knew a dude. He was a drunk, and he worked with us for a while, and he had his name spelled like Jerry, but went back and forth between if his name was Gary or Jerry. He would interchange them.
Oh man, yeah. There was actually a radio guy for many years and had a great voice named Jim Bohannon. I remember the '90s, so when I think Bohannon, I think about Jim Bohannon from the CBS radio network. But anyway, I digress, guys. With this game, looking back to one thing that Bubba and Matt and Kyle, to me, if I'm East Carolina, I want to win the toss, take the ball, score really quick, get up 7-0. I feel like our defense can hold them. Maybe just like my game plan, I want 14-0 early in the first, and make it where they're behind and they stay behind the rest of the game.
I always like to have the ball coming out at halftime.
You do?
Yeah, always. The only time I liked it first was when Lincoln Riley was here in Ruffin, because that's kind of what they always did. But otherwise, I'd rather have the ball coming out at halftime. Because one of two things, you're going to be in position to potentially go up by 2 scores, to take the lead, or to come back in a game. So to me, it's always better to have the ball coming out at halftime.
For me, I feel like our defense is great, Matt and Bubba. What do you think? So in other words, if you get the ball first, you score, and if you can stop them. So in other words, if they get the ball even early in the second half, if you stop them, you get the ball back and you get the chance to score too. So, I mean, I know you can argue both ways.
Well, for me, I think it depends on who you're playing. Last week against Navy, triple option team, I wanted the ball first because I want to take a lead on Navy, right? Try to get them out of their game plan a little bit where they have to, do some things that they're not accustomed to doing. When I look at this week, South Florida is a team that they're struggling offensively. Our defense is playing really well right now. This is the type of week where I wouldn't mind, if we won the toss, I wouldn't mind deferring to the second half, because, the nice thing is if you can get a quick stop, if you can get a 3 and out, now all of a sudden, you're forcing a punt. You might have good field position to try to get a quick score. So for me, it just kind of depends on the opponent.
Yeah, Matt. Robert Dedrick, actually, just as you were saying that, simultaneously on YouTube, said the exact same thing. As well as our defense is playing, that he would kick off and take advantage of the field position early in the game.
Great minds think alike, Robert. Good call, buddy.
The one thing I'd look at, the only way I would change that decision is sometimes when offenses are struggling, their best drive is their first drive with scripted plays. Most offensive coordinators script the first drive. So I would take a look at that to see if that's been their best drive of the game. Then that might alter my decision. Otherwise, I'd defer to the second half.
Sounds good. Well, regardless, all I care about is a win. However, I know we're being a visiting team. And how do you guys feel about that? The very first, it's kind of odd to be. I it'll be October 1st, and we haven't played. We finally are going to play an away game. That's kind of it's so
It's
surreal.
not even a true away game now. It's almost like
No,
a neutral site. That's weird. I don't know that. I don't know how. When you first think of it, you think, "Oh man," but we're not that young of a football team. These guys played on the road before, so I wouldn't expect it to affect things. But it is weird. I think it's probably good for us to get away from Greenville. I hate that it has to be such a strange situation where we have to go play at a neutral site and a little bit more distractions. But I think after 4 straight home games after last week's performance, I think getting away from Greenville is probably a good thing right now.
And not only that, Kyle. I mean, you take a look at it. Last year we played very well on the road. Yeah, we were 3-2.
We had our best wins on
We
the
should have
road.
been 5-0.
Yeah, we were 3-2 with the comeback win at Marshall where we trailed by 17, and then obviously
Memphis.
Yeah, and the Memphis and Navy wins at the
Yep.
buzzer, or in overtime, and then you had the heartbreakers like Dave mentioned down in Orlando and Houston,
Yep.
games that we either should have won or could have won.
Yeah, with the exception of, and Tulane and Temple were both awful last year. With the exception of Tulane and Temple last year, we played better on the road. Really, I mean, we hopefully that'll be a trend that continues this year. I hope we play well at home too. We need to get it. Coach Houston doesn't have a signature win at home yet, and he really needs that. And I don't know that you would call our next home game Memphis. I hope we beat them, but I don't know that you'd call that a signature win at home. But I think there's an opportunity with UCF coming to town later in October for him to get a signature home win.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I could tell you, I mean, just going back, I did have a chance to go back and watch a little of the Navy game. We're very close. We're really close. There's some simple adjustments, some very simple adjustments, in my opinion, that really jumped out. That if we can make these adjustments offensively, we can really give people problems defensively. And the biggest one, guys, I see, and not to sound like a broken record, I think I've probably said this 20 times, but 2 or 3 times a game, let Holton Ahlers keep the ball on read option. It will free up the running game. It will give the defense different things to focus on. And again, part of the reason why Rajay fumbled last week, we were so predictable. The defense knew it was coming. He was getting hit a yard or two behind the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
Let Holton keep it 2 to 3 times a game. It will. That one simple adjustment will literally open up so many things offensively, guys, for us. What are your thoughts on that?
I think his right shoulder, no throwing shoulder, being injured could have something to do with the reason he's not pulling it. I don't know that they're not telling him to. It could be his decision. It's read option. So he needs to pull it. They need to tell him to pull it more often. So the threat's there. Obviously, he's got the banged up shoulder, but you don't want to do it too much. But he's a good runner. He always has been an effective runner, and you're calling some draw plays with him anyway. So it's not like you're not letting him run it. I think I'm not sure that he's not being told never to pull it on the read option. He's just not making that read to pull it, and he needs to start.
Yeah,
I agree with you. I think it makes the defense have to think a little more. And I will say this, Matt, I don't think there's as many defenses that are as disciplined as the Navy defense. So
true.
I don't know that. It's something that would be more effective regardless of who we're playing. But it probably would have been more effective against them versus some other teams that aren't as disciplined that maybe don't pay much attention to the read option as much as they're just defending the run.
No doubt. And guys, I know you may disagree with me, but for me on Saturday, I want to see, like I was saying, as far as the playbook, I want to see jet sweeps. I want to see how about when we were talking about the middle is open. I feel like with we'll see what the defense gives us on Saturday, but Ryan Jones in the middle of that field, he catches the ball. Shane Calhoun with the tight ends, receivers. I mean, have that middle. That middle needs to be open. I don't know if Houston's. I had somebody ask me that today at work, if I thought that Houston was scared to throw in the middle because of maybe a shot that one of our receivers would take. I don't think that's the case. And it could be that Holton is not throwing to the middle, but I think the middle, what I saw, maybe I'm wrong, Matt. You had a chance to go back.
Well,
and look.
ever since Holton's been here, he has a preference to throw to the outside, kind of the opposite of Shane Carden. Shane could, Shane as he got towards his senior season, got better at those outside passes against man-to-man coverage. Shane could destroy, and it partially with the offense. But if you played a zone defense against Shane Carden early in his career, his whole career, he would just eat it alive, going in the middle of the field, middle of the field. Whereas Holton kind of prefers throwing those outside kind of fade routes, etc. But we do need to work the middle of the field more. We're playing CJ in the slot. We have a lot of talent at tight end. We desperately need to work the middle of the field more. I don't care really how we score this weekend. Look, personally, this is what I personally think, and I think a lot of people are overreacting. I think we are what we thought we were. I think we're a really good football team, and I think we had a hiccup against Navy, and I expect us to come out and kick South Florida's ass unless the intangibles come into play and South Florida just plays out of their mind like they did against Florida. Otherwise, I think the Navy game was a hiccup. I'm seem to be in the minority here. It's amazing to me. I saw people posting threads. Do we extend Houston too soon? I've seen people. It's amazing to me how one loss and people just seem to lose their effing minds.
Yeah.
I think we're still the same football team that almost beat North Carolina State, that blew out a good Old Dominion team. I think I fully expect us to go to South Florida, and like I said, unless the intangibles come into play, whip their ass, to be quite honest.
Hey, Bubba, one question I had for you being a quarterback is the other thing I want to see is, I know that I was going crazy. I was going nuts on Saturday night. Was we need to have the deep ball, even if Holton never connects, just the threat that we're going to throw a long bomb, and somebody like Isaiah Winstead, Jalen Johnson, CJ Johnson, one of those guys catches that ball and it's an X play, a big time play, that those kind of things really that helps you. That's the thing that drives me crazy, is that I want to see a running game. And if you throw a deep ball and you get it, then it opens up the running game because they're expecting the long pass. But right now they know that you don't have the long pass, that you're not going to throw it deep. So I wish they would throw it more.
Well, I think we have thrown it deep some. I think, we threw it deep to Winstead. We threw it deep against Campbell several times. We go deep outside. We never go deep over the middle. But yeah, I think we should have did it. I think we should have thrown it deep more against Navy than we did.
What about slants for like when we had for Keaton Mitchell, Rajay, the short passing game? What do you guys think?
Yeah, if it's blocked up right, you throw a slant over the middle. Somebody like Keaton Mitchell or what's the little fast receiver that's been banged up?
Kerry King.
King, yeah, but no.
Hatfield.
Just how it happened.
Yeah, you throw a slant to somebody like that, and you block it up right, blocking downfield, which Donnie's teams used to be masterful at when he was receivers coach. You can pick up a lot of yards that way.
Yeah, guys, and we could use Bubba. I didn't mean to cut you off there. We could use, just really quick, we could use Keaton. If we have the ball on the hash mark, a wheel route into the boundary. I'm more than happy to get his speed, matched up potentially on a linebacker on a wheel route.
Yeah, certainly, and that's something I remember back. I guess it was the first year of Coach Ruff, where we were playing down at UAB and made a comeback in that game in the second half, and we had Dominique Davis, play action fake, roll to his right, and then found Jonathan Williams down the left sideline. I'd like to see something like that, where we roll Holton and then find Keaton Mitchell. A lot of times the person you fake to is forgotten about, and obviously with Keaton Mitchell, that may not be the case, but it's worth a shot. If that, I don't know. Most of the time when you see Keaton catching the football, it's on swing passes or running back screens, not so much down the field. But I'd like to see how Keaton catches the football in those situations. But as far as kind of shifting gears a little bit here, going back to USS personnel, and we talked about their quarterback, Gary Bohannon, taking a look at some of his skill talent around him. Brian Battie, he's had a couple of 100-yard games this year, and against the Gators, that was his best game in the Swamp. He ran for 150 yards on 17 carries. He's a smaller back, 5'8", 165, and he's made some things happen in the return game as well during his time in Tampa. So he's somebody to keep an eye on. And then, shifting over to the defensive side of the ball, the Bulls have really struggled to stop the run this year. They're giving up 245 yards a game, and if you take out the game against Howard, against FBS competition, and it has been an excellent schedule, BYU in Tampa, and then going to Florida and to Louisville, both of whom have very, very solid running quarterbacks in Anthony Richardson and Malik Cunningham. But those FBS games or FBS opponents have resulted in 271 rushing yards per game. So we really, really need to establish the ground game if it's there. If they load the box and
Nah, they can't do that. They can't do it, Bubba. They don't have the personnel to do it.
But we shall see. I don't know enough about their defensive personnel, but based on those numbers that I just rattled off, we have to. I'm trying to remember. 2 years ago we were coming off a very poor effort in Atlanta against Georgia State, and then we went to Tampa and won that game. I think it was something like 44-24. So, and really ran the football well that night. From what I recall, it seems like Rajay had a 40 or 45-yard touchdown run. So hopefully it'll be more of the same and then some this weekend.
Yeah, what's Keaton's status? I know it was a lower back injury. He's good to go.
During today's press conference, Coach Houston said he would be practicing this afternoon when he was asked.
Yeah, he's fine. I think they've just been careful to, obviously, it's still, a third of the way through the season, so they're trying to – it's an injury, but not as severe as what it may seem to be, is what I'm seeing. They're being very careful for obvious reasons when it's a running back. And, guys, when I interviewed for Media Day, I interviewed Keaton Mitchell, and I asked him – so I want to get y'all's take on this. I said, how many yards will you have after the season? He said 1,500. And I was like, man, that's, Matt always talks about my optimism and how Mr. Positive. But, Bubba, how many yards does he have right now? Because it seems like, obviously, he didn't, because of his injury on Saturday night, he didn't have the performance he would have liked. But how many yards does he have? Do you know, offhand, after 4 games?
No,
around 400 yards.
He has. Yep, good call, Kyle. 46 attempts for 386 yards.
There you go.
Okay. So he, I don't care if he gets 1,500 yards or not. Just as long as we win the football game and he has a good year. But I don't know. It depends on how bad his injury is, how many carries he'll get. Will he be the featured back or will Rajay? I'll tell you what. I will say this.
In order for that to happen, very quickly, Kyle, I did some quick math. In order for that to happen, the 1,500 yards in, let's say we go to a bowl game, that would be 9 games. He would have to average 123 yards per game.
Well, he's got a lot. He could do it, but
it's a daunting task for sure.
Yeah. I'll say this: if Keaton is limited this week, then they need to play gun more. They don't need to just let unless Raj is just on fire. They don't need to put it all on him. If Keaton is limited this week, and I'm hoping Keaton's not, and we can just have the 1-2 punch. But Gunn shows he can carry the ball in the opportunities he's given. So I don't know where he stands in the blocking scheme, etc. But if Keaton's not 100% this week and his carries are limited, I'd like to see Gunn get some playing time in meaningful situations.
Hey,
Or
Matt,
two-back situation there. Where like you said, you still have Rajay on the field. Depending on what the play calls are, but that's something I've discussed with other Pirate fans as far as Marlon Gunn's playmaking ability.
he is
Yeah,
he is slick as glass. He is like
Uh-huh.
I know what you were going to say now.
I wasn't going to say anything, but I know you wanted to.
He was about to go there. Kyle's about to be very.
Yeah,
I wasn't saying anything. Dave was. Dave was getting ready to say it, but
no. I was waiting for you. I was waiting for Kyle to jump in.
I
and
mean,
say
if you want me to say it, I'll say what he's slick as. But
no. I think everybody, we're all adults here where Kyle would be going. But
I don't think anybody's figured it. Nobody else out there has a clue what we're talking about, because I've never said that on the podcast to my knowledge. But
no, you haven't. Matt, Marlon Gunn Jr. from Louisiana. What the heck is up with these players from Louisiana, man? They are just a tremendous athletes, and Gunn is just incredible. I've been impressed with him. We'd heard stuff, obviously, when you hear fall camp and you hear about the scrimmages and blah, blah, blah. But until you see game time, action, then you don't know what to believe. You always, in the Mo era, they kept talking about how great these grad transfers, and these guys are from Clemson and Alabama and all these different places. And you're like, wow. But Gunn is the real deal. I really like him. I think that Kyle's exactly right. If they
to be fair, Dave, Gardner Minshew sucked under Scotty Montgomery. So,
oh yeah, hey Matt, no doubt. So
no doubt, buddy, no doubt.
Tell Chrissy I said that for you tonight. It's my fault. So, but like this kid.
Wait, hold on. What am I missing here? Does Chrissy say we say no doubt too much?
No, that Matt does.
She said I do.
You get it from Coach Houston.
No doubt.
And Dave says it quite a bit too. So
no doubt about it. We should count how many times throughout a show we say no doubt. Were you guys a fan of No Doubt? The Gloria Stefan, yes. Not Gloria Stefan. What am I talking about?
Gwen Stefani.
Gwen Stefani's band from the 90s.
I have a huge crush on her. I think she's absolutely gorgeous, but that's a whole other show, as they say. Okay. But hey, Matt, with Marlon Gunn and Bubba, you're being a quarterback, and Kyle, actually, his favorite room is the running back room. That kid, what do you think his speed is? Like 4.3? I mean, he looks like he's equally as fast as Keaton. He doesn't have the experience as Keaton.
I don't think he's as fast as Keaton.
No, he doesn't as fast as Keaton. But
I think he may be I think he may have more cutting, which is my favorite thing. More ability to. I think his vision may be better. His ability to make cuts.
Yes. All right. Okay.
Yeah, and I'll tell you guys, like, just based on limited touches that I've seen him have the ball, he runs angry. I mean, I like the way he kind of he's decisive. He plants his foot in the ground and he goes and he runs angry, and you could definitely see why Mike Houston was so high on him. I was really high on both of our running backs in this class, including Nemo Squire. I was very impressed with him too. I think we have two really good young backs, but I agree. If Keaton is limited, let's get him some touches.
Yeah, and I would say this about Gunn: don't do that crap you did against Old Dominion. It worked, but it was in mop-up duty. Yeah, going backwards and reversing field, it worked. But if you do that in a situation where it's in an important game situation, it normally doesn't work. It's kind of like the movie Major League when Wesley Snipes, Willie Mays Hayes makes the basket catch, and Coach Lou Brown says, "Great catch, Hayes. Don't ever do it again." That's imagine what Houston told Marlon Gunn after that run.
And as far as his running style, you talk about his vision. Obviously, he's a much bigger back, but I just thought about this. Something a guy that had tremendous vision. And like I said, a much smaller back, but a guy that Matt played with, Junior Smith.
Well, dude, he was unreal. I mean, he was not a big guy. at all. He was small, but incredibly quick, quick feet. His
Water bug.
football instincts were second to none. I mean, he could cut on the dime, and I think his size was an advantage because he could kind of hide himself in between the tackles and then start making people miss. So he was a tremendous player.
Yeah, Cooper had similar running style. Cooper was a bigger back than Junior Smith. Almost anybody was a bigger back than Junior Smith, but Junior did have unbelievable cutting ability and speed, and like you said, Matt, he would use his size as an advantage at times to get lost, and then all of a sudden you see him bust out in the middle of the pack for a 20-yard gain.
And now, guys, if you actually if you know that about now, if you get in jail or go to jail, you can call him. He'll get you out of jail. He's a bail bondsman at Greenville. Did you know that?
I did not know that. Good to know.
And Junior Smith, I believe, the only running back in East Carolina history to have 3 straight 1,000-yard seasons, 92, 93, and 94.
Wow.
Durability, very durable player. That is not easy to do by any stretch.
Hey, how about this? Hey, Bubba, put up Craig's comment. He says, "Gunn gives me Barry Sanders vibes." How about that?
That's high praise.
Yeah, I loved that. He, in fact, to talk about somebody who left the game way early. Barry Sanders hung up the cleats and never played again. I guess it's because he played for the Lions. I don't know.
Yeah, well, running backs don't have long careers. I mean, that's just how it is. But hey, less wear and tear on your body. Also, I don't blame him. I mean, he went out on top. Why he can still go.
He reminds me of Marion Barber a little bit. You guys remember Marion Barber?
Yeah,
he played for Virginia.
He was a I think he was a Minnesota Golden Gopher.
Oh, yeah, who the hell am I thinking of?
You're thinking about Tiki and Rondé Barber.
Oh, okay. I know they're all my cousins. All those guys. So.
No, so
well, damn it! I thought that one kind of Matt's the only one that laughed at that. Everybody else is scared of that joke.
No, I'm not scared of it. It's 11:30 at night. That's the only thing for me. But with the game coming up, you guys, do you have a prediction of what you think so far? Or are you going to wait till Thursday, or do you have an idea? Will we cover the spread or not?
By the way, why do we have a guest on from South Florida this week? Was everybody just?
Yeah, it's just related to the storm. I'd reached out to Jim Louth, their play-by-play voice, as well as Will Turner, their equivalent of Stephen Igo from Bulls 24/7 site, and they were dealing with storm prep and doing things to get ready for Ian's arrival. So they were very friendly and said they'd love to come on. They just didn't have time to fit it in their schedule. And I know that Jim Louth, when he went on with some other local media, that he recorded in advance instead of going on. He even bumped that up several hours. And that was on Monday morning. So
okay. Well, as far as predictions for the game, I don't know. We'll maybe save the actual score prediction for Thursday night. I again, to me, my concern would be for South Florida. Besides, if they get all their players back that have been injured, it's kind of more the intangibles. Are they going to come out and play, out of their mind, for the people of Tampa and that area of Florida and play extra motivated? I think all things considered, I think we're a really good football team who just kind of pissed the bed, and we should be pissed off and come out and ready to go and execute. I expect us to play very well Saturday.
One thing of note that I haven't mentioned, I know specifically Coach Houston referenced these guys on the defensive side of the ball, that they have defensive linemen who are transfers from Minnesota, Missouri, and North Carolina. And I think on their team as a whole, they have something like 15 transfers, 7 from Atlantic Coast Conference schools. They actually have 2 from other AAC schools. I believe at least one, if not both, are from UCF. And
that
then
helps them so far.
and then one from an SEC program, then a couple from the Big 12, and 3 from the Big 10. Well, that could be, yeah, like you're saying, they're 1-3, but and I know Florida is not the Florida they've been historically, but they went to Knoxville and against what seems to be a very good Tennessee team, took them down to the wire and threw a Hail Mary to the end zone that got picked off on the final play.
Yeah, they were playing South Florida in between Kentucky and Tennessee.
And you had that factor as well.
So. Yeah. So I don't know, man. I mean, I could be wrong. I do think this could be a game where the intangible South Florida does come play with their asses on fire for the for the people in their area, the Tampa area, et cetera. But I expect us to play well this weekend. I really do. I just don't. I mean, obviously South Florida can beat us clearly. I mean, there's no doubt about that. But I got a feeling we're going to play well this weekend. I think there's been a massive overreaction by many members of Pirate Nation.
Hey,
well, just very quickly, Dave, going off what Kyle just said, or elaborating on what Kyle just said, and then Matt and I were discussing this earlier. I think it was maybe in the green room or on the phone, just as far as this is a game coming off that Navy loss. Yes, USF is very capable, but if we're going to accomplish what we want to accomplish this year, and if we are where we think we are as a program, I mean, not that we couldn't go on to do some great things and have a solid year if we did come up short on Saturday, but this is a game we really, really need to win coming off that Navy loss.
No doubt.
Yeah.
By the way, our good friend, hey Bubba, our good friend Tom texted me. He said that we could get our friend, your friend, Rick Giles, of course, Ryder Giles' dad, to fly you over the game on Saturday live for the Sports Objective for TSO. What do you think?
Hey, there you go. I'll give. I'll see if Rick Giles can make that happen. No. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Say what?
To your point, Bubba. Go ahead, Kyle.
I had nothing. Go ahead, Matt.
I was just going to say. I mean, this you hate to throw around the term "must win," but in order for us, if we want to have the season we thought that we could, you have to win this game. Yeah. You have to win this game. This is one. This is one that you circle on the calendar. You know, when you kind of go through at the beginning of the year, right? You look at the wins and losses. You try to project a little bit. At least we do that here. This is one that you have to win, in my opinion.
If we're gonna contend in the league, you know, if we drop this one, I would be stunned if we're, you know, in position to potentially compete for a conference title.
Yeah,
I know that's pretty obvious, but just saying, like that's.
Yeah, I think. Well, I mean, it's theoretically, could we still? Yeah, because the other teams that would be in contention would all still be in front of us. So Houston,
sure.
UCF, Cincinnati. But if we want to finish first or second and have a chance to play for the conference championship game, you can't start off 0-2 in the league. Could we lose this game and still go to a bowl game? Yeah, and I would expect us to. But if we want to do more than just 6-6 in a bowl game, I think that kind of is where this game is. I think you handle business, you're back to where you were, where you're competing for a conference championship. You know, 8 wins is still a very realistic possibility. Who knows? If you lose this, I think from the outside looking in, I think then we're hoping for a bowl game and 6 or 7 wins. So I think this is as close to a must win as it can be. You know, I don't want to go all in and say must win, but if you want to compete for a conference championship, you better not start 0-2 in league play.
Very quickly, guys, some notes about this series. This will be the 13th matchup between the Pirates and the Bulls. This will be the second matchup at a neutral site. Of course, we lost 24-7 in the PapaJohns.com Bowl back in 2006. Pirates were 1-9 at one point against South Florida, but they have won 2 straight, looking to make it 3 on Saturday. We were victorious 44-24, like I mentioned earlier in the show, in 2020 and down at Raymond James. And then last season, we pulled away in the fourth quarter on that big pick six, maybe late in the third or early in the fourth by Malik Fleming. And then we went on to a 29-14 win. So it's nice to finally have some success against South Florida after winning once in the first 10 meetings.
Our program has gone backwards. When they first came onto the scene, you were brought into Conference USA with a lot of fanfare with Jim Leavitt, and then moved into the Big East, and then the early days of the American, they had things going pretty good, and then things have kind of gone downhill for them recently. But I'm with you. It's good to have a couple wins over these guys, and hopefully we'll get our 4th win against them on Saturday.
Something else of note, give credit here to Stephen Igo and his snap count report that he puts out every Sunday or Monday, and looking over the numbers on the offensive line. There were 62 offensive plays against Navy. Obviously lower than what you would typically have. Normally it's more like 75, 80 at least. And in that game, across the offensive line, with the exception of one snap for Noah Henderson where Parker Moore came in at right tackle, the starting offensive line played every single snap. So that I found that interesting. Not shocking, but interesting nonetheless that they played every single snap with the exception of that one. And then defensively, we continued to play a lot of folks, but it was the fewest we had played this season. And that wasn't all that surprising when you take into consideration who we were playing and, the uniqueness of what they do.
Yeah, no doubt. Interesting that Parker Moore, that's the kid from West Virginia.
He said no
right?
doubt.
No doubt.
No doubt about
West Virginia, right?
Yes, Parker Moore is a transfer from West Virginia.
Interesting that he didn't that he's not starting for us. So we he was a solid O-line at West Virginia, a solid O-lineman. So obviously a good backup. It's good to have somebody like that coming off the bench, but kind of surprised he didn't start.
And then go ahead, Matt. Did you have something?
I was just going to say no doubt.
And then taking a look around the American this weekend, and we'll do this more thoroughly on Thursday with the inside slant. But the other games within the league, you have Tulane going to Houston. The Cougs are 2.5-point favorite in that one. That should be a heck of a ball game. You have Navy going out to Air Force. The Falcons are a 14-point favorite. Temple's traveling to the Liberty Bowl to take on Memphis, and Memphis is a 19-point favorite in that one. Cincinnati goes to Tulsa, and Bearcats are a 9-point favorite. And then this SMU UCF game got moved from Saturday to Sunday, and I know we were discussing that earlier off the air. That game is now at 1 o'clock on Sunday afternoon in Orlando, and the Knights are a 3.5-point favorite over Rhett Lashley and the Mustangs.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see that they should have moved that game to a different location. Hopefully they'll get to play it on Sunday, but I'm in Orlando in particular. They're going to get some hurricane force winds, but they might get 20 inches of rain, and that's a lot of rain. So could be some flooding in the Orlando area. But hopefully they'll get to play it on Sunday. That'll be a good one to watch. I know Florida and Eastern Washington, same situation, and Gainesville could be some flooding rains, and they've also moved their game up to Sunday. So for a guy who doesn't really care about NFL, I hope they get plays on Sunday so I can watch college football.
I'll be watching.
Kyle, that's what I told Matt earlier. I said that's awesome. That's awesome. Because every now and then I'll watch a little NFL, but I'd much rather watch college, and that's nice to I mean, I hate the games have to be moved, but since they do have to be moved, it'll be nice to watch some college football on Sunday.
As long as we win Saturday. If we don't win Saturday, I might not feel like watching them.
True.
Yeah. Well, right now my high school team, by the way, has a big game Thursday night. Good luck to our friend Brian Pascal, Coach Pascal, friend of the show. Hey guys, they have a chance to go 7-0 for Williamston for Riverside. So very happy for them. So my high school team is doing well. And you know what? You guys are right. I was going to tell you guys earlier. I just realized I forgot the thought. I was telling a coworker yesterday that I was telling them about how, isn't it funny how fans are, they're fanatics, and the person's actually a former ECU football player. I said, it's funny because these people are like, oh my God, the Pirates can't win. I've seen some people say, oh, now all of a sudden we're going to be 4-8. We're not going to have a winning season. I'm like, it's one game. Come on. We have every single goal has. And I said, it's funny how what's going to happen is most likely we'll beat USF. And then the whole world, everything is great. There's sunshine. Everything's perfect. And it's just funny what a difference a week makes, right?
Well, hopefully.
You go ahead, Kyle.
No, so hopefully that's the case. And, I think there's been a lot of people in the panic room a little early. If it would have been somebody besides the Navy, a normal team, it would have bothered me a lot more. But, man, Navy's a weird duck. And we have bad luck against them, and it's become a mental thing. And I think on the opposite side, I think Ken Niumatalolo has extreme confidence when he's playing East Carolina because all he's ever done is come to Greenville and beat us.
Yeah, my frustration on Saturday, like you're saying, people saying some of these or making some of these outlandish remarks, and we'll see how things play out. But my frustration was more out of just knowing what this team is capable of.
Exactly.
And just knowing that we let one get away. And
we let two get away.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, but we were supposed to win this one.
Exactly, yeah. Definitely felt like we should have won NC State, and this one we really should have won.
Yeah, it was frustrating. Now, by the way, speaking of should have won, and I'm not blaming this kid, but has there been any talk about opening up kick competition, or is it still Dafford's job with no competition, or do we know?
Today at the press conference, I did not hear anything asked about that.
Okay.
No,
people are scared to ask these questions.
Well, some are and some not, but that's a whole nother show, as they say. But guys, we're over an hour now. What do you have? And then we'll get out of here. I know that I'm very excited about the game.
Do we know other games that have been rescheduled? We mentioned UCF, SMU. We mentioned Florida, Eastern Washington. I know South Carolina. I believe they're playing South Carolina State.
Florida State is also.
South Carolina's moved their game up to Thursday. Florida State, what have they done?
One of them's moved it to Sunday. Was that Florida?
Yeah, Florida, Eastern Washington, Sunday. So
I think Florida State, one of them moved it. Was it Thursday night?
South Carolina's moved to Thursday night. Has Florida State also?
It was one of them that I thought it was one of the Florida schools. Maybe I got it wrong. But how about the Clemson NC State game?
Where's that supposed to be at? That's in Death Valley?
Yeah.
They're playing it on Saturday night.
Okay.
As of right now, it has not been moved according to what I'm seeing. Like you said, my app is reflecting the change with the South Carolina State game, 7:00 Thursday night.
I think they'll be able to play it, but it's going to be a lot of heavy rain. I don't think the wind will be a big enough factor, or there's going to be some dry air. We got a lot of dry air. If you go outside tonight, it's beautiful outside and it's very dry. So I think in terms of the intensity of the storm, even if it goes back out in the ocean and back to second landfall somewhere on the South Carolina coast, then moves inland, I would think the intensity of the wind would be below tropical storm force by then. But there could be some flooding rains falling in that game. So that'll be an interesting one to watch Saturday night. I got a feling they're going to be playing torrential downpour.
Oh, there's no question about that. We'll definitely have more on Thursday when we have our the Inside Slant guys. We're going to preview our shows. Don't forget our good friend, Coach Jeff Connors. Coach Connors has had a lot of great content, and he's on Monday night, Absolute Empowerment. And, of course, Tuesday night is our Pirate Preview, as you're watching right now. Wednesday, we have two great shows, and that will be we have the Pirate Breakdown with Sutton Young, and Sonny and Semenza is coming up tomorrow night. The Inside Slant, as we told you on Thursday. A Pirate's Life for me, Bubba. I know that you had Pirate Allen. Who do you have this week?
Yeah, last week, as you mentioned, Alan Powell, better known in East Carolina circles as Pirate Al. He and I had an excellent conversation. In the past, I'd also had former East Carolina softball player, one of the best power hitters and really just best hitters overall, because she led the program in career batting average, 415, and then also career home runs with, I think, 40 or 45 home runs, Isonet Polonius from Curacao. And then also I'd caught up with John Kazaza, and then also Pat Lane, a very loyal donor to East Carolina, and not only on the athletic side with the Pirate Club and all the capital campaigns. He and his wife Lynn made a very generous gift of $60,000 to the Pirates Unite capital campaign, and they've given to all those down through the years. And they're also very generous on the university side, the academic side. So go back and listen to some of those. We have them all in a playlist for you on our YouTube channel. And this week, I'm going to be catching up with Perry Hudson, who anybody that or a lot of loyal Pirate Club members will certainly recognize that name, because he was chapter president of the year several times, and the chapter president of the year award is named after him and Mark Meltzer.
Yeah, I'm going to make a suggestion for a Pirate's Life for me, Bubba, and I want to pinch hit when we have him on as guest host. Let's get Brock Anderson on for Pirate's Life for me.
Sounds good. Yeah, that would be a tremendous show, and we'll see if we can make that happen.
Right.
And then obviously on Saturday we'll be tuned in, but there will be no sights and sounds with the Pirates on the road and us unable to attend. And then on Sunday we'll take a look back at what will hopefully be the Pirates' third win of the year against the South Florida Bulls down in Boca Raton.
Which is actually a more appropriate place for South Florida to be anyway.
Exactly. I've seen a lot of people saying that, but I think maybe it was Clip Brock saying that the Pirates will finally play the Bulls in South Florida.
Yeah, finally. Because I don't know, man. I know that university,
West Central Florida.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know. Maybe it's I don't know how they ended up with that name, but whatever. Who cares? But certainly more geographically correct this week for the Bulls of South Florida, playing in Boca Raton and the beautiful retirement area of Boca Raton, Florida, with all the old rich people.
Yeah, a lot of great driving for sure. Hey, we'll do our thanks. Great sponsors. Want to thank Kevin KK Walker, of course, one of the great letter winners, and he has done an excellent job with L&K Custom Homes. Call him 336-688-8461. Of course, he's a licensed general contractor. Give Kev a call. Porky's Backyard Barbecue. Want to say hello to Mark Holiday. As a matter of fact, we're going to be there next Friday night. The Riverside Nights has a bye, so we're going to do karaoke. That's breaking news on the 7th from 7 until whenever. So if you want to come out, we'll have karaoke there next Friday night on the 7th. And they have a lot of great food. They're open daily 11 to 8. Barbecue. They've got great barbecue chicken, ribs, seafood, lots of great vegetables, comfort food. Some people would say soul food, but it's excellent stuff. And check it out at Porky's Backyard Barbecue, 805 East Boulevard in Williamston. And last but certainly not least, Kyle, one of your favorites, pgxgloves.com, Kyle.
Yeah, but I had a promo for Porky's, And
Okay.
I alluded to it the other day. They offer catering, right, Dave?
Yes, they do.
And you gotta have the Holiday Brothers cater your holiday party with Porky's. Call
That's
the
right.
holidays, and they will cater your holiday party. You better get your calls in now. So they're coming up on October. You know they're going to get booked up for your Christmas parties, etc. So have the holidays cater your holiday party. I think what a gimmick! What a gimmick! But PGXgloves.com, Bubba, you can get that up on the screen. There we go. PGXgloves.com. Customize sports gloves. If your kids play baseball, softball, football, get them some gloves. Get them something customized. Have them be unique. Stand out on the field. If you play golf, get yourself some golf gloves. And if you put in promo code ECU at checkout, you will save yourself 25%. So go to pgxgloves.com, spend a lot of money, and save some money by putting in code ECU at checkout.
Want to give a shout out to Kaz. Appreciate his support of the program the last couple of years, and great stuff. My kids really, man, stand out in a good way because all the kids have just regular gloves, and they asked my son and daughter, where do you get those gloves? And that's a great one. I'd say pgxgloves.com. So how about that? Craig is saying JMU is looking at 1/2 inch to 1.25 inches of rain on Saturday in Harrisonburg. And that gives an indication of what the East Coast will look like. As a matter of fact, Craig, you're exactly right. I know that for us here at my house, it looks like about 1.5 inches, like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 1/2 inch a day is what it's forecasting when I saw weather.com. Who knows? I've heard on WITN yesterday, 3 to 5 inches of rain for Eastern North Carolina.
Yeah, it's going to depend on the track of the storm and how much dry air gets into it.
Yeah, so we'll see. It might be a great day to, play instead of playing football and being outside. You can watch a lot of great football, including at Boca Raton, FAU Stadium, East Carolina.
By the way, one more thing. We were talking about cancellation games being moved. I'm assuming Coastal is either off or on the road this week because I've heard nothing about them moving their game.
Just one moment, and I'll check that.
Because that on the coast of South Carolina.
Yeah, they're supposed to be at home against Georgia Southern.
Yeah, I don't know. They may be all right. Again,
it's scheduled for 4 o'clock on Saturday.
Yeah, they're probably going to be dealing with some heavy rain. They may be all right to play, just dealing with some heavy rain. And, used to that would be maybe advantage Georgia Southern, but now it's Coastal who runs their unique version of the triple option. So give me the team that runs the triple option if it's raining hard.
You also have Old Dominion at home against Liberty.
Yeah, they'll be fine. It'll just be rain.
All right. Well, we'll find out what happens. Obviously, the next couple of days are going to be very, very crucial to find out where that storm is going to go. We'll know more in definitely in the next 24 hours as Hurricane Ian hits Florida and everywhere else, it looks like. So we'll see how that plays a part, especially on the East Coast. All right. Appreciate Matt Semenza. Kyle, man, appreciate you so much. We're thinking about you, and I had so much fun with you tonight. It's not the same without you. So appreciate you being on the show. Bubba, man, thank you so much for everything you do. We'll get out of here, and we'll see you next time right here on the Sports Objective. Good night, everybody, and go Pirates.
I'm a pirate down in my soul, and I don't back down, not at all. Find out when the cannons explode, from the sidelines down to the post. Put it down like not even close, all out to the last whistle blow. For the flag of the soul and cross bones. Everybody stand up, get your hands up, let a team know that we got they back. This is our house, this is our town, our time, Rebel 19, copy that. Everybody gonna see us go bananas, scream loud, but don't hold back. Every foot, every yard, every first down, every touchdown with the cannons blast. Get it on, get it all, get the wave going.